Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, Richard here, and today we'll be taking a look at weapon damage in Payday 2. In this we'll cover how damage works, some important damage thresholds, as well as some special cases. At a first glance, damage seems to be simple enough. Each weapon deals a certain amount of damage per shot and subtracts said damage from the enemy's health. However, it is a bit more complex than that. In Payday 2, actual damage versus damage shown in the inventory screen generally doesn't match up correctly. The damage in Payday 2 is rounded in some pretty unique ways. For example, the Car 4 deals 23 damage by default, however its actual damage is 22.5. Damage values must align with a special damage table, which lists all the possible values that can exist in Payday 2 before said multipliers can be added. Do note that snipers and the grenade launcher will cheat this, so we can ignore them for the time being. On screen right now is the actual damage table. As you can see, after 16 damage the numbers start to increase by 2.5 and then by 5 after 50. This means if a weapon on the inventory screen says its damage is 28, it will actually deal 27.5 damage, assuming that's before multipliers. This is important as you get into the higher damage brackets, as the rounding effects can be more substantial. Adding attachments that affect damage will shift the damage index on the table. For example, the long barrel attachment on the Car 4 shifts damage 2 positions to the right. However, you will run into some problems with the Fast and Furious perk, the Silent Killer skill, and other damage modifying skills or perks, as these will take effect after attachments. Once a multiplier is added to the damage of a weapon, it is free to break away from the damage table. For example, a weapon that would, before multipliers, deal 32.5 damage or 33 in the inventory menu would deal 34.125 damage with Fast and Furious. However, it would be rounded to 35 in the menu. This is because it multiplies 33 by 1.05 instead of the actual value of 32.5. So let's move on to our next topic, which is damage thresholds, which are very important, especially on Overkill and Death Wish. What is a damage threshold? In short, it is the amount of damage needed for a desired shots to kill amount, whether it be to the head or body. For example, 40 damage will allow you to 2-headshot a tan FBI on Overkill, and 32 will allow you to 1-shot headshot green FBI in both Overkill and Death Wish. This is very important to understand. Let's take a Car 4 for example. Depending on the muzzle brake, you can end up with a reasonable 42.5 damage fully upgraded with a competitor's compensator, or 47.5 with the funnel of fun. Many players wouldn't mind taking the hit on accuracy and stability for the increased damage. Who doesn't want to hit harder? However, what does an extra 5 damage points grant you? Not a whole lot really. You will kill special units a bit faster. However, the extra damage won't reduce the shots to kill against the most common police units, tan and green FBI. In addition, your accuracy has been severely reduced, making hipfire and long-range combat quite impractical. If you wish to see the full damage threshold table, I will post a link in the description below. As mentioned previously, sniper rifles and grenade launchers cheat the system a bit. They are given a separate multiplier in addition to their damage, so the Thanatos, for example, deals 120 damage with a separate multiplier added after of 24, bringing its overall damage to 2,880. Let's talk about the other sniper rifles. The Rattlesnake deals 65 damage and receives a 2x multiplier, bringing its base damage to 130. The R93 will deal 100 damage and gets a 2.5x multiplier, bringing its damage to 250. And finally, the Nagant rifle will deal 70 damage with a 4x multiplier, bringing its damage to 280. Shotgun's damage also have a few special rules. The most important one is the fact that only one pellet needs to connect with a target in order for maximum damage to be incurred. Any other hits will not affect damage unless they strike the head, in which case the headshot multiplier of said unit will be applied. Another interesting fact is that shotguns do not penetrate breakable glass. The first shot will break the glass, but the projectiles will not strike any targets behind the glass until it is fully broken. On a final note, penetrating objects and enemies with slugs or sniper rifles will surprisingly not affect damage at all. However, when penetrating a shield, you will only do a quarter of your total damage. I want to say thank you to Frankelsteiner, the maker of the long guide on the Payday 2 community group. His guide was actually what got me curious on how damage works, and this video would not have been possible without his guide. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like. And if I missed anything or believe anything in this video is wrong, please let me know in the comment section below. But as always, my name is Richard. Peace out, guys.